So I know I'm a little bit late with this review. The movie's been out for a few weeks now, and I couldn't review it when I wanted to because, like I said before on this channel, I think I said it on this channel. Yeah, I did say it. I was a little bit sick. I've been a little bit under the weather for the past, few weeks or so. So that's why I haven't been able to produce on this channel as much as I really wanted to. But I finally went out to go see Annabelle Creation, which was directed by David F. Sanberg, who also did Lights Out, which is a movie that I reviewed over on my older and, bigger channel, Geekdom 101. I reviewed it there last year when I went to go see it. And David Sandberg pretty much is this dude that I think we can all be inspired from because he started out making a small little, homemade movie called Lights Out on YouTube. And as a result of that, he got discovered and then was told to take that small movie and make it into a full movie, which he did last year with the theatrical Lights Out. And as a result of that, he networked and he made friends in Hollywood and made friends in the horror film industry. And now he's come in to work on what is, I'm guessing it's being dubbed the Warren slash Conjuring cinematic universe. You've got the two Conjuring movies, which are directed by James Wan. Then you've got the Annabelle prequel, which was not very good. Then you've got this film, Annabelle Creation, which is the prequel to the prequel. This takes place before Annabelle. So you've got Conjuring, Annabelle before it, and then Annabelle Creation before that. And in the future, from what I understand, they're going to make movies on the Nun and on the Stick. I think it's the Tall Man or the Stick Man from Conjuring 2. If you've seen those movies, you kind of know what I'm talking about. So basically the idea is they're going to introduce these, ghosts and monsters and things like that, and these enemies, these villains, and then give them backstories in different movies. That's what they're doing right now with this, Conjuring cinematic universe, if you want to call it that. But it's interesting because, the original idea behind the Conjuring movies is that they were basically taken from the files of Ed and Lorraine Warren, the demonologists. Now, I'm not going to go into whether or not Ed and Lorraine Warren stories are true or whether or not they're false, but they're supposedly, that's a different video. Supposedly, Ed and Lorraine have documented evidence of demons, and all these things you see in the movie is real, according to what they say. Of course, it's an adaptation, so they're going to take liberties, but there you go. However, the prequels like Annabelle, Annabelle Creation, and the upcoming Nun movie are fiction, purely fiction, not based on actual events. So with Annabelle Creation, they were given a lot more creative leeway to kind of create their own story. So this story was pretty much fabricated, by a writing team, specifically a man named Gary Doberman. He wrote this screenplay, and it's been getting a lot of praise, and I just got done watching the movie, and I really did like it, especially when compared to its predecessor. I did like the film. I thought it was a fun movie. I wasn't bored at all. It felt like a traditional 90s kind of, 90s, I guess, TV horror film. Like it actually really, as I'm watching it, the way that David F. Sandberg set up his shots, the way that it was shot, like, with kind of the old-timey kind of, 1950s, vibe, it really felt like a film that's from a previous era in a good way. Like, it reminded me so much, maybe because they're on a farmhouse, of Pet Sematary, and movies like that. And I liked the movie, but there are some things I did not like. Like, I like the fact that they explained the origin of Annabelle, which is tied into demonology and a lot of, religious beliefs, especially the belief that like the big takeaway from this movie and several other movies like this is that if you see a ghost, it's really not a ghost, it's a demon. And when our relatives and our friends and family die, they move on to heaven or purgatory or whatever you believe in. It's up to you. And they don't ever come back. But if you see them come back and you start praying for them to come back, the devil, Satan, will grant your wish by giving you essentially a counterfeit ghost. So you think you're seeing ghosts, but you're actually seeing a demon. That was kind of the story here of the origin of Annabelle, as well as the Mullins family, which is, Annabelle's family. And it's interesting because this is kind of a retcon of a retcon, because in a weird way, I wouldn't call it that, but it can be seen as that because the Annabelle movie gave you the origin, but this is the origin of the origin. It's wacky. I do believe this is going to be the last Annabelle film. I don't think they're going to do any more because the story's already kind of been told, but I have a weird feeling they kind of made this movie just to sort of make up for the last one. I don't know if I'm right on that, but it just kind of felt that way, and it really did make up for it. The issues I had with the film, like I said, let's talk about the good first. Good acting, not the best, but decent acting from a lot of younger actors. I thought it was pretty good the way it was done, and I liked that it really brought in some new elements that we haven't seen in the cinematic universe. But they're new elements, but they're familiar. Like the Scarecrow. There was a Scarecrow Scare in this film. We haven't seen the Scarecrow used in horror movies for quite some time, so I was very happy. At least not mainstream horror movies. Very happy to see that come back. And the atmosphere that James Wan was trying to capture with his Conjuring movies, I think David Sanberg did a pretty decent job of capturing that. But the issues I had with the film is not really necessarily just this movie. I feel like these movies are now starting to blend together in the sense that the scares are kind of predictable. That's one thing I will say. James Wan is kind of a master at setting up his scares. If you watch any of his films, not just Conjuring, watch Insidious Chapter 2, and even the stuff before that, he's really good at setting things up. But also, he's a very versatile director. I really enjoy what he did with the Saw series, even though he only did the first one. It was a different kind of movie. It was a horror movie, but it was a different kind of horror. It was a torture porn kind of horror movie, even though the first one does have a really good story. Then you've got James Wan in Fast and Furious, which is a big budget action movie, very different. He knows how to set up his shots and execute. And you can tell that David Sanberg definitely read the book of James Wan because he did the same thing. The only issue is that the bait and switch aspect of it that James Wan did, I think that Sanberg pulled the trigger too often. Like, I think that he did the whole thing where you think that a scare is coming, it doesn't come, then it comes, right? They tease you, they bait and switch you, and they get you. And James Wan in recent films has kind of stretched that out to where they tease, they get you. If you've seen a horror movie, you know what I'm talking about, all right? You know what I'm talking about, right? I think Sanberg kind of redid some of the traditional ones that we've seen before in these films, and I think that that's one thing that this franchise, this whole cinematic universe, has to be careful of doing. I'm hoping that the upcoming movies are not like this. I want them to be very different. I want them to be a different kind of scary because the whole thing about walking around the haunted house with the door closing and all the doors closing, and then the creak of the door opening, and then you hear the creepy children in the background. It's a little played out. Plus, the other problem is that I felt like in the movie there was nothing that they could do to beat this thing, which has become a problem, but it seems like the Warrens have become like superheroes at it in a way. But these girls in this movie just couldn't beat this damn thing, even with the power of God. I mean, there's scenes where, I'm not going to spoil the movie if you haven't seen it, but somebody uses the power of God and it just doesn't work, and I thought that was kind of, interesting, that there's always a back and forth there. So it's just one of those movies that just kind of, it's not going to be rocking the world. This is not one of those breakthrough films like the first Conjuring was, or even the first Saw. It's not going to be a movie that people are going to look at and say, wow, that was a bona fide classic. But it was enjoyable. Like, it really was enjoyable, especially if you're into this universe. If you like these characters, whether you think they're real or whether they're fiction, it's up to you. And I love the Easter eggs, too. There was a teaser of the nun in the movie, and there was also a Raggedy Ann doll that they showed near the end. And if in case you didn't know, the real Annabelle doll that the Warrens have in their home in Connecticut, well, Lorraine, because Ed passed away, is just a Raggedy Ann. It's not the creepy one from the movies. So that was a cool little, Easter egg there. I thought that was cool. But I enjoyed the movie. I thought it was fun. I thought it was atmospheric. And I thought that I'm looking forward to seeing what Sanberg does next. I wonder if he can continue this trend of making, fun little horror movies. He's pretty good at them. And it just really is an inspirational story that this guy who grew up a fan of horror, loved horror, made his own movie on a low budget, and got picked up by actual bigwigs, and now he's making real movies. Like, that's the dream right there. And a lot of directors do that. It ain't just him, but it just goes to show if you're out there and you have a dream, put your work out there. Don't be afraid to, because you never know who's watching, you never know who's gonna watch, and you never know where it might lead to in the future. So it was pretty good. I enjoyed it. I like the revelation. I like the fact that the movie actually explained things. I do like that very much. So there you go. Let me know your thoughts on Annabelle Creation. Again, sorry the review was so late. I was, like I said, I wasn't feeling well, but I might go back and see some more movies that I missed over the summer. I still have not seen Dunkirk yet or Baby Driver, and those are both really celebrated films. Baby Driver more than Dunkirk. I heard Dunkirk was not that good, but I want to see for myself and see what I think. So, thank you so very much. I'll talk to you guys later.